waking up and opening the door is an opportunity. You make that decision whenever you walk out that day, like, what am I going to do today? And as you know, someone who works themselves, you have to open that door and be ready to take on that day. And you know, if you don't get out there and figure it out, ain't nobody gonna figure it out for you.
Welcome to the Small Town Wealth Builders Podcast, real stories and smart capital moves from people building wealth without leaving their roots. We want to give a little musical shout out. If you like our funky little intro, that would be Janai Allen with the Music Road Co. He's a local artist out of Floyd. And if you like the intro, give him a listen, check him out. Welcome to the show, guys. Today we've got Daniel Sowers, entrepreneur and real estate agent. You may know him from On the Water, the kayak rental back in the day. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, sir.
You know, we want to mix it up. We want, as we create this podcast, to help people, learn how to build wealth and build success in small towns. We want to make sure we're having people who have done it, who've been there, who've learned all the lessons. But we also want to make sure that we have people who are kind of in the thick of it right now. And Daniel, I think, Daniel, you're a humble guy, and I don't think you'd ever say this about yourself, but when I see what you're doing, you're definitely someone who's in the thick of it, and we're really glad to have you on. So tell us where you're from. And
Well, I proclaim to be originally from Floyd. My family mostly is from Floyd, but I was actually born in North Carolina. We lived at Fancy Gap until I was about 10 years old. Then we moved down to the family farm. And so the first 10 years was not Floyd, but ever since it's been Floyd.
We'll still claim you.
You don't want to have to.
Daniel, tell us something about Floyd that most people don't know that you think is cool or interesting.
That's a tough question. I think it's Floyd is the landscape, which it's nothing that people don't know about. I love the landscape of Floyd. It's no better feeling than to be standing up on top of one of these ridges and looking off into the distance and seeing the blessings that you've been given. So as far as something that somebody doesn't know, I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
If you think of something, let us know.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your background, right? So you weren't always destined to be an entrepreneur, were you?
No, sir. If I were to look back and think that where I'm at now, I would definitely tell you not. I worked, as a younger fellow, I worked quite a bit and done, I held pretty good jobs, but I wasn't as motivated as I am right now. But, I started out just working on construction work, doing some welding, stuff like that, and worked when I had to, made money when I needed to. I like to travel and I like to hunt and have my own time. And so over time, I just decided that, I wanted a little bit more. There was a time in life where I became more motivated and, I just wanted a little bit more out of life and felt like I was led to do more things. And so it's kind of where we ended up at.
Can you tell us a little bit about that shift? Because there's a lot of folks that, don't realize how many entrepreneurs get their start later on. They don't come out at 22 swinging sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely did not. I've got some friends of mine that did, and they've done real well for themselves. And I looked up to that. I looked up to that a whole lot and just kind of watched them grow. And it was inspiring to me that once I got motivated and, towards my later 20s and up to 30, there was a time in my life where I had a back injury, and I couldn't hardly feed myself, and it just couldn't work or anything. And I had a moment where I was just sitting in a recliner staring at the ceiling and told God if I could get past this back injury, if he would get me past this back injury, every day would be a step forward. And after that, things just kind of started. I just started trying to put one foot in front of the other. Every day was just trying to be a step forward, just even if it was just the smallest step forward. It was still a step forward. That was what I said I was going to do, and that's what I'm trying to do. And so I started on the water little by little. There was a river there, and I had a few boats, and people my friends, they all wanted to go floating with me in the summertime, and we'd all go floating. And at the end of the float, I had to get the boats where they were going. I had to pick it and figure all that out. I'm like, man, I should start charging people for this. And so that's kind of how it started. And it was a really good start for me. It opened my eyes to running my own business, or attempting to. I didn't do a good job, but I still gave it a shot. But it just opened up so many doors as far as getting going.
So did it make you a multimillionaire running on the water?
Unfortunately, it did not. It made a lot of people happy. A lot of people really enjoyed it, and even from the get-go, starting on the water was, you had to have a job, had to make money to live. But it was also about people that had never been on the river, being able to see these parts of the river that you couldn't see unless you're in a boat. And so it wasn't, even then, it wasn't just about the money, but I had to have a job to make money. So I tried to put the best things together and make it work.
We all need to pay our bills, right?
We got to pay our bills. And so that's done good at first, and it paid the bills. And as time went on, I learned that there was other ways to, pay the bills and have more free time, because on the water took all of my summers. Like we were running 7 days a week, and it was a lot. You didn't have any summer, which I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting all the people. I couldn't ask for a better time in life. Just working hard and meeting a lot of people and making a lot of people happy. So as time went on, I just found myself wanting to do weekend things and having my own summer. And maybe I wanted to go float, or maybe I wanted to go out and go camping or something, and I couldn't do that. But once I started doing that, and it just became not profitable for us to keep that going.
Why was it still such an important first step for you?
I got involved with a lot of people that were doing business and starting small businesses, and we just brainstormed together and worked together, and had new ideas, and it just opened up so many doors for me to be able to get into other things. And with On the Water, it was seasonal, so come fall, I always had to find another job for the fall and work through the winter and then just quit. And so this one fall, I decided I didn't want to get a real job, and I decided I'll send an ad in the paper for a house for sale. Seemed like a good deal to me. I just couldn't see passing it up. I was like, this is a good deal. Let's make this happen. And I asked people and made phone calls for weeks trying to get someone to back me on a loan. Of course, no one's going to back someone with no money. I didn't have any money to put towards it, so why was anyone going to give me money? But I found a guy that was willing to take a chance on me, and he did. And I borrowed the down payment from a friend of mine to get the loan, to get the deal going. And since then it was just drive and willpower, and wanting to make it work and hold your end of the deal up and hold your word that you're going to make this happen. And so that's how it all started for me in that game.
That's a great point, and that's something we have really been seeing already. We're only a few episodes in, but we keep seeing this on these episodes in the show, which is that if you're here in a small town, or you're not employed, you're in another small town, you can be successful. There are way more paths to being successful than you think. There's way more ways to make it happen than you think, and it's way harder than you think at the same time. How many people did you have to ask before you were able to find someone you said you found someone to help you with that down payment, and you found someone to help you get that first loan? How many people did you talk to be able to get that?
I can't even tell you. I know it was probably 10 or 15, just making fun, just asking anybody I knew that would had a desire to get into something, outside the box a little bit. But again, when you don't have a lot to bring to the table yourself, and you're asking for people for money to do a deal and no background in it, it's a big ask.
Just hearing no, kept going.
I knew it would work. I knew it had to work. And I just found a group that would work with me, and they took a chance on me, and I'm grateful to this day for it.
Why didn't you quit after, the 10th person you asked?
I wanted it. I really wanted it. It was a deal that was going to work, and I felt like it was my way to get through to the next spring to start on the water, and I was dedicated to it, and there was just no giving up at that point. Once I started, I wouldn't take a no for an answer.
So that was kind of the next small step you took.
Mm-hmm.
How did that turn out?
It turned out interesting. I learned a lesson. Location. I learned a lesson.
It's probably the reason that house was the price
it was. It was the reason it was priced like it was. But I learned a lot during that process. I don't think I made any money, but I don't think I lost any money. But I gained a lot of knowledge, and I gained a partner and someone that believed in me, and ended up being to be a lifetime friendship right there. So didn't gain a lot of wealth on that one, but I did gain a lot of experience and a lot of, someone believing in me that would continue to work with me.
So it sounds like, for you at least, long before you made it really much money, the things that you're actually gaining, it was the learning, the experiences, it was the mindset shift, and it was the relationships, right? Long before the money showed up.
Yeah, the money still is slow. It's slowly coming in, but those teams and those relationships you build, they just don't. If they're built on a solid foundation, they're not gonna fall apart.
You think that's something a lot of people don't realize, how many things you have to build and get in place before the money comes?
Yeah, I think sometimes people think that it happens overnight and that it was an easy road, but it's not an easy road. It's a lot of challenges, especially when you don't have a lot to start with. There's a lot of hurdles, but if you want it, you just got to work hard and be smart about it. You got to be smart about your deals too. That's one of my phrases is, you make your money when you buy it. If you buy it right, then you can make money. The first house that I bought, I thought I bought it right, but I didn't really know what I was getting into.
Well, you've done a few more deals since then. You have any tips for anyone if they're looking to buy, trying to follow in your footsteps a little bit? How do you know whether you're buying it right?
How do you know if you're going to buy it right? You got to know the market. You got to know where you're buying. You got to know your renovation cost budget. You just got to know your market is a big part of it. And I think that people get excited when they're looking for deals. I know I do. And sometimes you want to buy something so badly to get your foot in the door that you'll make a bad move and buy something that's at a higher price just because you want to get in there. But someone once told me that the next best deal is right around the corner. The deal of a lifetime is right around the corner, and that is the case I've noticed. Is if you do find the deal that you want and you want it badly and you got to pay more for it, just don't do it. There's going to be another one that comes around, and you're going to find that deal that makes sense to you. And so I'll say just be patient and wait for the right deal.
That's something I've learned over and over again in my own life and just watching other people. Is it seems like that first deal, if you're in real estate or if you're in business, whatever that is, or that first break, that first lucky break, you want it to come, and it's slow to come, and you keep thinking you see it, and it's not as good as you think it is. And so a lot of times it's easy to get discouraged early on, but what a lot of folks don't see is it's actually what you're doing is you're building all those skills. You're building the relationships that you talked about. You're learning the correct mindsets, the way to think about things, the way to see things, and you're building the skill sets. And I think you've probably seen this, and I've seen this with, once you get good at those things, once the deals come, they just keep coming. Now there's slow periods, but folks shouldn't get discouraged if it takes a long time for that first one. Is what it sounds like you're saying that too.
Absolutely. I mean, there is discouraging points in it, but if it's your desire and you want to do it, then just be patient. The right thing will come down the pipe as long as you're diligent looking for it. But you have to do your part. I mean, you have to have your teams in place, and you have to do your part, to find these deals. And so, yeah, I agree with that.
When you talk about getting a team in place, what does that look like? What did it look like for you to get a team in place?
Just finding the right people for the right job, learning that I'm not good at hardly anything, but there's a lot of people that are good at what they do. I wasn't good at a lot of the things, but I knew friends that were really good at them. I knew friends that could build, and I could help them build, and I was a good helper, but I wasn't good at the initial framing or any of that. So just finding friends and people that really were motivated for the same goal. As we started out, and I told a lot of them from the get-go, if I'm eating bologna sandwiches, you're eating bologna sandwiches. But whenever I eat steak, you eat steak with me. And so just letting them know that, hey, we're in this together. It's not me. You're not working for me. We're working together as a team to build this thing. And so you got to keep those people happy that are doing the work, helping you get the work done. And then, I realized that my job was to keep it all going and keep the circus together. And I'm not good at it, but I'll still do it.
You had a really good thing you said one of the first times I met you, right? It was, what was it? I'm just a guy that knows a guy.
I'm just a man that knows a man.
How did you say you built this team, right? How'd you find them?
The team?
Yeah. How do you find good people, right? It's not as easy as,
A lot of the people that we work with is people I grew up with. We had a desire to do more in life, and we just, developed a relationship at a young age. We went and done trips together. We fished together. We hung out together, and they knew a trade, and so they were willing to. I worked for them at one point. There was times when I was younger, I worked for these guys, and now we work together on bigger projects, and we just built this team little by little. And if someone new came into the group that we wanted to add in, you just be honest with them and be straightforward with what your desires are with them. I'll give you the key to everything I got. I'm going to just give you trust right off the bat. You can trust me. If you need me to be there, I'm going to be there for you, and I expect you to be there for me. And I just be honest with them right out of the gate, and hopefully some stick around and some don't. So
did that ever burn you?
Absolutely, it burned me, but I'm not going to let a bad apple spoil the fun for us. We're going to continue moving on.
You think you could have built that team without giving them trust first?
Maybe, but that's just not how I operate.
Yeah.
I'm a truster right off the bat. I want somebody to feel part of the family and part of the team as soon as they get there. I don't necessarily think that they have to earn that. They can, if they're showing up day one and they're willing to work, welcome to the team. Here's the key to everything we got. Let's get this done. Let's move on.
Yeah, trust is yours to lose.
It's there. Just I'm not. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. So, what does that look like for you to be what have you had to do to be the kind of guy that people say, man, I want to be on that team?
I don't know that anyone wants to be on the team. I don't know that I am that guy or that team that people want to be on. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that one.
Fair enough.
I don't know that there is the people that want to be on the team, but
you got a couple people on the team.
I do, but they're just loyal friends, and we are motivated. We are doing things. I try to keep it pretty low key, but sometimes people see what we're doing, and I like to give. If someone asks for an opportunity, hey, do you have any work? Do you have anything going on? And I like to give people that opportunity because I was given that opportunity. I once had a job with a guy that I respect a lot, and I worked for him for a long time, but he gave me a job when I shouldn't have had a job, but he still was patient with me and stood by me, and he worked me a lot. And so I just, you see people that want to work or think they want to work and have a desire, so you take a leap and you give them some work and see how it goes. See if you work together well.
Well, let's talk about some lessons. What are some lessons you've learned along the way from making that one small step at a time to, now you're not just buying stuff, you're a realtor too, right?
Yes, sir.
So you've kind of branched out and put a bunch of irons in the fire. What are some lessons you would share to, folks who are in a small town that say, man, I'm growing up and I don't know, I don't see a path or a future for it to be successful. What are some lessons you'd share?
I would say, you have to be patient. Patience is a big part of it, and I still work on that one every day. And you create your own opportunities. Like, I mean, if it's something you want, if you want to get into the business and, do some flips or buying properties or rentals or whatever, if that's what you want, then you got to be persistent. You got to learn what you're getting into, know the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs. It's challenging, but if that's your desire, there's plenty of opportunities. There's opportunities every day to make some deals, but it's hard. I mean, don't think it's going to be easy. It's a hard road, but
why is it a hard road?
Well, you have to have money to buy properties, and then if you're starting from scratch, from little to nothing, then you got to find a way to get money, and that's challenging, especially when you don't have any collateral or any cash. Then just getting creative, working with people to get that money, that's a struggle. But there's lenders out there. There's lenders out there that are willing to take a chance on people that don't have a lot of experience, and so don't let that discourage you long term. It's a hurdle, but there are people out there that can help you. Some other challenges would be, the trust, that type of thing. Is people get emotional when it comes to buying these big properties and selling these big properties as an agent. It's one of the most important decisions that they'll make in their life, is buying some of these properties, and so you have to be patient with those folks, and you have to ride those ups and those downs with them, because it can get pretty rocky, and being in the middle is sometimes hard, but you just gotta just trust your instincts, and if you want it, just continue digging.
You talked about creating your own opportunities. Can you tell us about a time you feel like you created an opportunity and how you did it?
We'll go back to the first deal. I mean, there was a newspaper, it was back when newspapers were working, and the back page, there was a house there, and I seen it, and I just felt like that's an opportunity. I worked hard. I made the phone calls. I wouldn't let it go. At nighttime, I thought about it. I couldn't shake it, and so I just found the people that would help me get there. I don't mind asking for help, and they helped me get there. So just keeping your eye out, just watching, looking. If you want something, ask.
If someone was wanting to do that today, I'd imagine newspapers aren't going to be that anymore. What would the version of a newspaper be today, you think?
For me, it's word of mouth. Once you get out there in the community and you're doing things and you made a couple of deals, then people know to give you a call. Hey, we've heard that, maybe you're buying houses. Would you be interested in this one? And so that helps out a lot. You have to get online. Everything's online nowadays, so just get online and, start doing some research, start looking at some of these sites and trying to find a property, get involved with local groups that are doing it. Go sit down and ask to have lunch with somebody that's doing it. Just get involved and keep your eye out on and do your research.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were going, let's say you had to go back and you're in today's year, but you have to do your first deal all over again. No one knows that you're doing anything. You've never done a deal before. What are a few things, but you know everything you know now, what are a few things you would do to find that first deal?
I would probably get involved with people that are doing it. Because there's enough, to go around if you're involved, and we can't do them all. So just get involved with people that are doing it. Surround yourself with like kind of mindsets.
How'd you find that person and get involved?
That's a tough one. If I've never done it, I'd probably
Call Daniel Sowers.
I'd like to talk about it. Definitely talk about it for sure. I encourage people to get into the business, but you have to be really patient and be ready for a lot of hurdles and be ready to put your neck on the line, because things go up and down really quickly, and you have to be able to roll with those punches, and you have to overcome those obstacles when they come, because those obstacles come every day. And I was told when I started working, another lady told me that no deal is ever the same. Every deal's different. I'm like, well, how in the world can every deal be different? They're just houses. What's they're going to be different? And here we are, 14 years later, and I'm still like, I can't believe this is coming up.
Yeah,
it's something different every time.
We've done hundreds of loans, and I've never. They're all different,
and there's always a challenge.
There's always something.
There's a small deal, a big deal. It doesn't matter. There's always these challenges that you never thought would have came up, and they come up, and you have to be ready for that, because if you are rigid and you can't bend with those changes, then you're not going to make it very well.
What's a challenge that came up that you'd be like, I'm never going to forget this happened?
I don't know of one challenge per se, but people get emotional when it comes to these properties, especially being an agent. Like, the challenge is riding those emotions with those folks. That's a challenge for me. I feel like I got it going good and everything's going along, and then we all wake up in different moods some days. Some days we wake up and we're best mood ever, and then some days we're like not feeling so good. The person on the other side is feeling that way too, and you have to kind of navigate that. They go to bed with one mindset, and then you wake up with another mindset, and it's like, what happened? I thought we were good.
Yeah.
I thought we were good, and then things change real quick, and so you have to be able to be flexible and work with the people, and that is a challenge.
Yeah, I remember there was that one house where that lady wanted to sell. She was excited. We were helping her. Then the day of closing, she woke up and said, never mind. Just got to roll with it.
She decided she didn't want to do the deal. She was like, I don't want to sell anymore. So that was something we had to overcome. And, we moved on. And it turns out that might have been, I was working with you all on that one. And it turns out that might have been a good idea. We may have avoided some things that, everything happens for a reason. God has a plan, and sometimes we don't always know it.
Sometimes the best move you make is the move you don't make.
Yes, sir. Exactly right.
There's the door that gets closed. What would you say early on for you? Was there something where you can point to where you said, hey, I felt like that ended up being a really smart use of my capital?
I would say similar to that is there's some times where I didn't use my capital, and it was still a smarter move. I'd done a deal with a guy, and they funded the deal, paid for all the construction. I get ready to get working on it, and turns out there was someone else that wanted the house before we even touched it, and so we got to turn it over, make $1 pretty quick, and there was very little capital involved, and so I kind of turned that question around. But I think that's one of the smarter moves I made without any capital.
Was not using
my capital.
Yeah. What does that look like for you to not use your capital?
That's the best case scenario.
Right.
Best case scenario is for me not to use my capital, which is low anyway, so it works out pretty good.
How have you done that? How have you done that? How have you,
Just creating that relationship. Just creating the relationship where, the lender believes in what I'm doing. I believe in the lenders that we trust each other. We find a good project. We know we can make some money on it, and they really put a lot of faith in me for some reason, and they buy the property, they fix it, and then sometimes you sell them before you have to do a lot of work to them. So very few times, very not often.
Usually there's a lot of work.
Yeah, usually there's a lot of work. Sometimes it doesn't work like that.
So for, as we wrap up, obviously this is a podcast, small town wealth builders. We talk about building wealth, and that's usually in the context of work and money. But one thing we see over and over again as we talk to people is the people who have done it and the people who are doing it right now. They'll all tell you, hey, money's only a small part of what wealth actually is. So, as we kind of wrap it up, I'd ask you, what matters to you more than money?
Most everything. I mean, money is just a vehicle we use to be able to do the things we want to do, but, blessings all around is more important. Being able to, help part of the team at the end of the week. You get to write them a check, and they get paid. They get to feed their family. The next guy gets to feed his family. Wealth is a lot more than just the money. There's still, not a lot of that around, but everyone's getting fed at the end of the day. People are happy. It's a good feeling to, buy a project and work on it and sell it to someone and leave some meat on the bone still for the next person. They have a house that they have, they have a new house that they're happy with, and they have equity in that house, and not trying to squeeze every dollar out of it when you sell it. Sell it for a good price, leave some left for the next person. And so there's a lot more to it than the wealth. It's the lifestyle. It allows you to a little more freedom to do what you want to do, spend more time with your family, go ride your horse, go camp, and do what you'd like to do a little more. So the wealth part of it is not always paper and faces on the money. It's just, being able to opportunities to go and do things and have fun and experience life and experience the blessings that you've been given. So
you feel like people underestimate how important those things are, and you think people underestimate, living in a small town, underestimate what they have?
I think in this community, a lot of people are thankful and thankful for what they have, but like you said, wealth is not always tied to a dollar sign. There's plenty of folks out there chasing the dollar signs, and we have to have it to live. But there's a lot more to it than just the dollar signs. There's a lot more to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't feel bad about trying to make a dollar if it's an honest dollar. But that was one thing. One of the reasons I enjoy doing this podcast is, I grew up in Floyd. I left, and then I came back, and I realized there's a lot of stuff here that isn't money. That's I would consider wealth. The knowing your neighbor. And not just Floyd, but other small towns, mm-hmm. right? Knowing your neighbor, knowing the community, right? Like you talk about some of the teams you've put together was from folks you used to fish with and hunt with and, just grew up with. And I think that's something that I didn't realize how special that was until I lived in, Birmingham, Alabama, and I lived in Roanoke. And, I didn't know my neighbors, and, maybe it's easier to make a dollar, but it's easier to spend that dollar because you got to pay for everything because you don't know anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Floyd it's just like any small town. It definitely helps to have that background of being here. People, and when you grow up, you kind of know each other, and that definitely helps. But some folks think that there is a lack of opportunity here, which in some instances there are, but there's also there's opportunities every day. Waking up and opening the door is an opportunity. You make that decision whenever you walk out that day. Like, what am I going to do today? And as someone who works themselves, you have to open that door and be ready to take on that day. And if you don't get out there and figure it out, ain't nobody gonna figure it out for you.
It's a good note to end on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.